just wanted to get started just by asking you about the start of the season in the USHL. What's that been like for you moving up from the AJHL, and how does COVID kind of change what that experience is like?
Yeah, for sure. It's stepping into the USHL from the AJ. It was definitely took some getting used to. It's definitely a faster paced game down here, which I enjoy. So it's been really good so far. Right now, we got the first three games of our season done, and then ran into some COVID trouble. So we're in the middle of quarantine right now as a team. So we're out for 2 weeks, which is unfortunate and and really boring.
Yeah, I can imagine it makes things complicated, right? Because so much of being at the top of your game is routine and kind of being in charge of kind of how you process things. I imagine COVID just throws all of that for a loop.
Yeah, no, for sure. I guess I wasn't really expecting to, or none of us were really expecting to have get COVID or even have to quarantine as a team, but it just kind of snuck up on us, and then one person had it, and then the whole team basically had it. So, yeah, it definitely doesn't help with the routine and getting into the season, especially just starting the season. We just got our first win under our belt, so we were kind of rolling into this past weekend, but it got cut short.
Does that have any bearing on how you're approaching the season, or how you're approaching the areas of your game that you'd like to improve? Is that changing at all with this disconjointed schedule?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I still go to the rink and want to improve my game. So, I mean, as of right now, I'm at my house and not able to go to rinks, so that is impacting it in that sense. But as soon as I get to the rink, it's game on.
Nice. Well, Ethan, for those New Jersey Devils fans that might not know all that much about you or the way you play, how would you describe your game, and what do you think are one or two of your biggest strengths as a player?
My biggest strength is probably my skating abilities, my ability to kind of use deception and get out of the corner, or use deception to lead a rush or join a rush is probably so just deception and my ability to skate is probably my two main attributes. And but yeah, as a player, I'm an offensive-minded defenseman that likes to get up in the rush. Over the past year, I've kind of developed into a more two-way defenseman that can take care of his own zone. So I take pride in all areas of the ice, all three zones.
Yeah, and I've definitely seen that in some of the games I've watched. Now, as you've kind of continually kind of pushed the limit and graduated into tougher and tougher leagues, is there any particular part of your game that you feel like you'll need to work on as you progress even further to the NCAA next season?
Yeah, for sure. Moving into the USHL again, it's just a faster league overall, and it kind of took me by surprise. My game I can improve on, or just keep it simple in the D zone and making sure pucks get out, and because in this league people capitalize on your mistakes, and those are the only goals that are scored are when the other team make mistakes. So just being simple in the D, making the pass and moving my feet to escape pressure is all attributes that I have in my game, but I just need to overall improve them to be an impactful player in this league AJ as well.
Speaking of your commitment to the NCAA, was that always on your radar? I mean, you committed to Michigan a couple of years ago. Was any other option, did that go through your mind as well, or was it the NCAA?
I was drafted to the Portland Winterhawks in the WHL, so obviously they are a really, really well-known and so that made it definitely a difficult decision to make, going to the NCAA or WHL. So, I mean, if it was any other organization, the NCAA would probably be kind of a no-brainer, but Portland made it a difficult decision for myself and my family.
Yeah, was there anything in particular about the college hockey route that drew you there? I know As we've talked to people in the hockey world, the kind of focus on strength and training, obviously the education that comes with it. Was there any particular part of the NCAA route that drew you in more than any other?
Yeah, I think as kind of an undersized and like late blooming defenseman like myself, it's definitely a good option to get into the gym, have fewer games, and just have more practice and gym time in the NCAA. I also me and my family have always been kind of school orientated. They've always emphasized the path of ace hockey doesn't work out, backup plan. So kind of the school and hockey mixture is the ideal route for myself and my family. And so those two things are what made my decision.
Yeah, that's great. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think that's a really kind of prudent thing to do too, to be thinking about kind of multiple options. I just wanted to circle back to the draft because that's obviously a huge day for you and your family. Can you tell us a little bit what it was like to go through that process? I know, I can't imagine the stress and the anxiety and excitement that went through with it. What was it like to hear that you had been drafted, and what were your thoughts going into the process?
At the beginning of the season, it was kind of a shock that I was getting some NHL attention, and it was like, holy man, like this could actually become a dream come true. And then throughout the whole season, it was just kind of a grown interest in my abilities and my game. And obviously I was named to Central Scouting's list, and so that was huge. And then just talking to teams throughout the whole process was really exciting for myself and my family. And then getting closer and closer to the draft date in June was kind of, I was starting to get a little nervous, and then all COVID hits, and then everything got delayed. So it kind of, it didn't ease my mind at all. It just kind of postponed all those emotions a couple months. So it just allowed me to just focus up in the gym and everything in the off season. And then come draft day, I was down here in Sioux City already, and so I wasn't able to experience draft day with my family, but my billet family down here made it pretty good, and I was actually on the ice when my name was called. So my teammates and coaches made it a really special experience for me, and I thank them for that. And it was a little bit of a weird situation, but we made the most of it for sure.
Yeah, I can only imagine that. I mean, we had to go through it just as hockey nerds, the wait between when the draft should have been and when it actually happens. I think that wait, if I was in your shoes, probably would have destroyed me with kind of the stress and the anxiety. But I'm curious what that was like when you did start to notice that NHL attention. I mean, what did that feel like if you went into the season kind of with different expectations, and as that energy started to build, how did you handle that, or how do you keep your focus while that's happening?
I've always been kind of a player that can leave stuff at the door as soon as I enter the rink. It's kind of out of my mind. But I mean, when the Central Scouting came out and my name was on the list, I got a little extra attention at school and whatever. But again, I've just been always good at leaving things at the door and working on my craft inside the rink, and then kind of worrying about that outside of the rink. So yeah, no, it was kind of cool throughout the season to go through that and to talk to NHL teams, and then, but it had nothing to do, or didn't compare to draft day when my name was called, and that was a special moment for sure.
So if you don't mind me asking, what were some of those interactions with NHL teams like throughout the season? Was it just chats with scouts after games, or, I mean, we didn't really have a scouting combine, so there wasn't any kind of formalized interview process. So I'm curious how that worked this year, especially.
Yeah, kind of when it first started, it was just like questionnaires that were emailed to me, and then it kind of evolved into some phone calls and some more emailing back and forth. But then some scouts ended up coming to games of mine and even practices, and we would talk after games and have face-to-face interviews, which was really cool. But then COVID hit, and all had to be over phone calls or Zoom meetings. So there was quite a few Zoom meetings that I had to go through, and which was exciting for me. I mean, it was a good way to kind of get to know the programs as they get to know me. But yeah, overall, it was a really good experience to go through that, and couldn't be happier that I was picked by New Jersey.
Nice. Ethan, last one from me here, just conscious of the time. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this season. I know you're already playing, top pairing. What would you consider like a successful season to look like this year?
A successful season for me would just be kind of evolving my game all around. I would like to be more sound in the defensive zone as well as put up some more numbers in the offensive zone. So a little bit of everything would be ideal. I just want to be an effective player in this league and help my team to the championship, which I think we do have a team that could go very far this year. So I just want to do my part and help out with that. Hopefully get a ring at the end of the year.
As unofficial Devils fans, we want to welcome you to the organization. And I'm wondering, when your name was called, you mentioned that you were on the ice. Was there a member of the Devils organization that reached out to you or your advisor? And how quickly was that after your name was called?
I was right on the ice. Practice just ended. My equipment manager was kind of keeping an eye on the draft because there's a few guys on my current team that could have been called anytime, and then so practice just ended. I got off the ice, and then I sat down in my stall, looked at my phone, and I saw a congrats text, which I was a little bit confused because I just looked at the draft and I hadn't seen anything. But so I kind of knew I got drafted, and then moments later, all my teammates came rushing into the room while screaming my name, and they made a pretty special moment. Right after my name was called and all the madness kind of settled, I got a call from the media team. I can't remember exactly who I talked to right away, but we set up a Zoom call basically right then, and so after I got undressed and everything, I had to do a media thing, and which was really cool. They were asking me a bunch of questions and welcoming me to the organization. So, I talked to the media team, and I also talked to a few other guys. Honestly, it was a crazy day. I don't really recall every conversation I had. I had a lot of phone calls, but they definitely made it special.
Yeah, that's great. I can't imagine. I would imagine that day would be basically a blur, just for all the excitement and stress and stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to speak with us. We're, like Ian said, really excited that you're part of the organization and wish you a lot of success with the season.
Thank you so much, and thank you for that awesome article. That was awesome.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, happy to have you. Thanks again, Ethan.